This combat is a continuation of Grimstone Hollow, a dungeon that is part of a tutorial that introduces my home rules-based adventure world. Arliss is a dwarven fighter. Bertrand is a human paladin. Having broken through a doorway and cleared their way past the guard room, they find themselves atop a long, low stair above a sunken room, some 7 feet below them. A transcript for this video can be found on the Authentic Wiki. Link in the description below. I am Alexis, writer of the Tao D&D blog. Let's get started. Arliss, again leading, pauses at the top of the stairs. Bertrand, certain that there are enemies here, nocks an arrow in his bow, ready to fire the instant they encounter their next hobgoblin. He can hold this for only 5 rounds. Then he must relax the string or risk overstretching the gut. They start down, and as they light at the bottom of the stairs, they can hear the sound of running feet coming from the south passage. They take a position in the room, and as they do, they are confronted by 4 hobgoblins. Both sides are expecting combat, so there's no need to make a surprise check. But they do make an initiative check, and the party loses initiative. To begin with, Thornak steps into 1406. He's only 2 hexes away. That takes 2 AP, and he immediately attacks Arliss with his Godin tag. And he rolls a 5 and misses. Cragthar, seeing that Bertrand is ready to use his bow, moves the 3 hexes to 1206 and aggressively attacks him with the spear. Since combat is happening simultaneously, even though the rules are based on a turn system, Bertrand must defend himself. He cannot use the bow in this close a proximity, so he has to drop the bow and pull out his sword. In the meantime, Grimgor, whom we've met before, will also take 3 steps and confront Arliss at this point. Elkar, who is a non-soldier, he's actually an old man who's come along to help because they're defending the lair and there's really very little he can do, but you never know. He's going to step into 1408 and hold a reserve position in case he needs to help somebody. That would be their turn. Cragthar and Grimgor do not have enough movement to actually attack Bertrand and Arliss. Throwing his bow over his shoulder and drawing his sword, Bertrand doesn't have enough movement to attack back, but now he is defending himself. Arliss, faced with Grimgor and Thornak, makes up his mind. He's going to attack Grimgor. So he turns and swings. He's had no luck hitting anyone in this whole campaign, and he misses now. That's the party's turn. Thornak still has 4 movement. It takes him 1 point to move out of 1406 and 1 point to move into 1405. That's 2 movement, but he's got 4 altogether and he needs to attack. So now he attacks Arliss. But he's attacking Arliss from his flank because he is to the left of Arliss and slightly behind. So he gets +1 to hit Arliss. He rolls, he gets 12, he misses. Grimgor's going to attack Arliss from the front using his Morning Star. Grimgor's going to roll an 8. Nobody can hit anything. Cragthar is going to attack with his spear against Bertrand. And he rolls a 19. Now Cragthar has a 17 strength. That gives him +1 to hit and +1 damage. So he's going to roll a d6 and he's going to cause 4 points of damage to Bertrand. Bertrand had 19 hit points. Now he has 50. Arliss has to make up his mind whether or not to leave Thornak on his flank and take care of Grimgor, or to turn on Thornak and give Grimgor his flank. So there's really nothing he can do. He might as well just keep attacking Grimgor. So he rolls an 18. Arliss, using his battle axe, is +2 to hit, and he's +3 damage. So he's going to roll a d8 and add 3 damage. He rolls an 8. He adds 3, that's 11. That's how many hit points Grimgor has. So Grimgor is going to be stunned. This means that Arliss has done more than 25% of Grimgor's total hit points, and as Grimgor is stunned, he staggers 1 round back, 1 hex back. He's not unconscious and he's not physically unaware, but he's off balance and he winds up falling back and out of the fight. This allows Arliss, who has 2 movement left after attacking Grimgor, to turn, and even though he is putting his back to Cragthar, he is able to put his front towards Thornak, thus remove the danger of having Thornak on his flank. However, it does mean that soon enough Grimgor is going to come back into the fight. Now, just so that we can keep track of what's going on, we're going to use this symbol to indicate that Grimgor is stunned and cannot take any kind of attack with the hobgoblins next round. Bertrand now turns at Cragthar and attacks him. And Bertrand rolls an 18. Now Bertrand's strength is 16. He has no bonuses to hit, but he does get a +1 damage, and he is using a longsword. So he rolls a d8, and he causes 6 damage. Cragthar has 12 hit points. He is also stunned. So he falls back, and we apply the same symbol to him, because he is also stunned. And that's the party's move. Now Thornak can still attack, and Elcar here sees his opportunity. He sees Arliss's flank, he rushes forward, and even though he isn't trained, he is defending his lair. He needs a 21 to hit AC 0, so he needs a 16 to hit Arliss, because Arliss is within 2 hexes of Bertrand, and Bertrand has a continuous protection from malevolence that surrounds him that gives him a -2 to all his opponent's attacks. That is due to his being a paladin. So Elcar has to roll 16 to hit. He rolls a 1, which means he drops his club. We'll take the club out of his hand. Now, when dropping something, we roll a d8. The first 2 will be in Elcar's own hex, which is 1306. And the others will then be in a circle of 6, starting in 1305 and moving clockwise. So let's roll a d8. And we find that Elcar's club is going to wind up over in 1406. And we'll put it a little closer to him. Now he can go chase it there, but for the time being, he does not have a weapon in his hand. Thornak is going to attack Arliss from the front. He's going to roll a 15, which is what he needs to hit Arliss. He also gets a +1, so it's a 16, which means that he can use his golden tag to good effect. He also gets a +1 damage because he also has a 17 strength, being a hobgoblin, and he rolls 6 damage. Now, Arliss has 21 hit points, but 6 damage is more than 1/4 of his total hit points, so now Arliss is stunned. Arliss falls back into 1206 because, like the others, the effect is the same, and we put that on top. The rest of the turn for the hobgoblins is to remove this symbol from the 2 hobgoblins, but they do not attack. It is now the party's attack, but only Bertrand can attack somewhere. He's got a lot of choices. He could attack Elcar in 1306. He could move to 1106 around Arliss and engage Cragthar, hoping to knock him back so that effectively Arliss wouldn't have his back to Cragthar. He could also attack Thornak as well. It's up to him. I'm going to say that he moves to 1106 and attacks Cragthar, because after all, that's who he's been fighting all this time. So we will have him do that. He will roll a die. We'll see if he misses. And he rolls a 10 and does, in fact, miss. Cragthar is going to either choose to attack Arliss or he's going to attack Bertrand. I'm going to have him attack Bertrand. Arliss removes this because, after all, the party's turn is now over, the same way that the hobgoblin's turn was before. Elcar is going to move over here and retain his club, and we'll put that back in Elcar's hand. We should have rolled to see whether or not that club broke, and it did not. Thornak is going to move into 1305 and attack Arliss from the front, and he's going to miss with an 8. And Grimgor could have come around and attacked Bertrand, or he could move in and attack Arliss as he did before. We'll have him move forward back to 1306 and attack Arliss. Now, Grimgor at the moment has 0 hit points, but he's not dead, and there are negative hit points in my game world. He doesn't actually die until he is reduced to less than -5. And at the moment, being at 0 doesn't have any effects upon his fighting capability. So even though Arliss could easily kill him in a single shot, he's going to jump in because, again, we are defending the lair. So Grimgor jumps in and misses with a 10. So Cragthar has missed, Grimgor has missed, Thornak has missed. It is the party's turn again. Alright, Arliss is going to turn on Grimgor. He knows Grimgor is the easiest kill. He's already hit Grimgor before, so he's going to naturally turn and swing at Grimgor. He's got that +2 to hit, and he's going to roll a 14. A 14 plus 2 is a 16. The 16 hits, and Arliss hits Grimgor for the D8 plus 3. Now, his minimum damage is 4. Grimgor could survive that. He's going to do 6 damage. That kills Grimgor once and for all. So Grimgor is going to fall back into 1407, and we're going to color him dead. Arliss turns and faces Thornak. Now Bertrand has also already hit Cragthar, so Bertrand's going to try and hit Cragthar. He's going to roll a 7, which is not good enough to hit him. So that leaves the 3 of them. Now Elkar, who lost his weapon, he's going to have his hesitation. He has a 9 morale. That means he's not trained. He's not that hardened for combat. He's willing to fight, but he's not trained as a soldier. So this means on 2d6, in order to get into this fight again, having dropped his weapon and feeling a little bit ashamed, he's going to need to roll a morale check and succeed at it before he can jump back into the fight. That's going to be a 9 on 2d6. He rolls a 5, so he stays back. In fact, he's going to move to 1505. Thornak, who is well and still hasn't been hit yet, is going to attack Arliss. He rolls a 4 and misses. Cragthar, who is a little frustrated at not being able to hit Bertrand again, is going to roll an 11, which also is not good enough to hit Bertrand. Now the party is in a good position. Arliss has to hit Thornak in order to begin to knock him out of the fight. So Arliss rolls an 8 and misses. Bertrand has to hit Cragthar and do better. Now, Arliss doesn't want to move to 1205, and he doesn't want to move to 1306, and Bertrand doesn't want to move to 1107 because the two of them together form a tighter bond against the enemy than separate. So Bertrand's going to hold his position. He's going to attack Cragthar, and he's going to roll a 7, and he misses as well. Cragthar and Thornak would like to knock these two apart, but they have to make a morale because Grimgor died, and both of them are within that range. Elkar, Thornak, and Cragthar are all going to make a morale check. Elkar's is a 9, so he fails his morale check, and he's going to run off. And we'll just throw him down this hallway here. Now, Thornak, his morale is 7, so he's going to fail his morale as well. He's going to spend 2, back off, and then he's going to take off down the hallway after Elkar. Cragthar has a morale of 6. Now, is he going to hold the line? No, he is not. He rolls a 4. He's going to spend 2, back off, and he's going to run down 1508. Now, should the party separate and go after one or the other? Should the party stay together and go after one or the other? Neither is probably a good idea. At this point, they've seen that there are more hobgoblins and that maybe there are too many for them to fight. So at the present, they're going to hold their ground, and we're going to end the combat here and see what happens. Now, I made the same mistake here that I made in the previous combat, and it happens once in a while. There's a lot of rules here, and if I don't have a player to remind me, often I have a tendency to forget certain rules, especially when they benefit the players. See, when Arliss did 11 damage to Grimgor, he wounded him. In each round thereafter, Grimgor would have been suffering a -1 penalty until he stepped back and bound his wounds or somehow achieved some other way of healing. it means that after that 11-point hit, Grimgor, who was wounded, would not have continued the fight. He would not have made that attack on Arliss. He would have moved away to a place where he could have staunched the bleeding and possibly survived, or maybe there's aid just around the corner where he could have bound his wounds. Since the fight happened, it doesn't matter. Grimgor is dead. Usually, when these sort of mistakes happen, I would simply retcon the problem. In any case, that's it. That's the combat.